Hi, and welcome back to ConTinual. We're back in the fun holiday programming, and tonight's panel room is all talking about fun TV episodes. Before we get started and really dive into what makes us all tick for the holidays, I'm going to go around the room and ask everybody to introduce themselves. So, Jeannie, I'm going to start with you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeanne Adams. I write paranormal romantic suspense, urban fantasy, and space adventure with my friend Nancy Northcott.
Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha Bryant. I write the menopausal superhero series, and when I'm not writing superheroes, I write horror because it just like my day job, Samantha is half horror and half hero. I'm a middle school teacher.
I think that half horror is a little on the low end, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Carole.
Carole Stokes, and I'm a supernatural fanfic writer with a myriad of other interests.
And I'm Jim Nettles, and I write science fiction, urban fantasy, bit of horror, bit of this, that, and the other, and some nonfiction and blowing stuff up as well. So tonight, though, I'm going to start off much like I did the last time, but I have new victims. I have to go with one of my personal favorite holiday episodes of all time. And this would be the Star Wars holiday special, The Life Day.
No. It should be removed from all devices everywhere unto the ends of the earth.
So, Jeannie, how do you feel about it?
That was the worst decision anyone ever made. Ooh, let's do this. Ooh, let's not.
The fun part is there are parts of that are still canon.
I know.
B. Arthur, being the daytime bartender at the cantina, is canon purely because of it. So, Samantha, what are your memories of the Life Day special? Since I'm going to go throw that on everyone today.
No one has ever inflicted it on me. I have not seen it.
You are so privileged.
I know, and I'm married to a Star Wars guy.
I also have not witnessed this important event.
So last year, since we are talking a little bit about the holiday story side of things, I will admit to the fact that the wife looked at me and said, there was no holidays, or there was no Star Wars holiday episode. I'm like, yes, there was. And so good news for everybody out there. It is on YouTube, complete with the ads where it preempted Wonder Woman and the Hulk that night. So you can get those, including those ads. So when you go do that, and she, after insisting that it did not exist, I made her watch all 2 hours of it. So if you've not watched it,
he's an evil man.
There's an echo in here. So yes, for those of you needing to spread the love and cheer this year, know that it's out there on YouTube, and you too can get and find it and share it with all of your loved ones and the ones that you don't particularly care for. So let's go around the room and talk a little bit about what are some of your kind of favorite episodes, what really stirred you, inspired you, and why is it for your holiday season? So Jeannie, I'm going to start with you.
Oh my gosh. The holiday season starts for me when the first time they show It's a Wonderful Life. And I cannot ever get through the holiday season without seeing the original Grinch and the original Rankin Bass Rudolph.
So what about you, Samantha?
So for me, it's not Christmas until we've watched Die Hard.
Yes, best Christmas movie ever.
Yeah, and well, if you know me, you know a bit about my family, and you know that Die Hard's not that different than one of my family parties. There are a lot of bearded guys who maybe aren't quite as smart as they think they are, but who will knock your face off. And there's some weapons, and once in a while an explosion. But so far as more traditional holiday fare, I'm a sucker for Charlie Brown.
Carole?
The Grinch and Rudolph and Charlie Brown are definitely at the top of my list. Since I am a little bit older than some of us, I am a devotee of Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol.
Oh, I haven't seen that in forever.
I love that with the raspberry dressing and everything. So that's right up there on my list.
I'm gonna have to flick that on my kids this year. Yeah.
We had a fun panel that we've recorded. I don't know when it will air, but it was about the Christmas Carol and all its various iterations. And my favorite is still the George C. Scott one and the Muppets.
The Muppets. The Muppets.
I love the Muppet Christmas Carol so much. I saw it in the theater when I first saw it the first time. It was in the theater, and I said, any movie that after seeing this story trope countless times throughout my lifetime can still make me cry,
yes,
more power to them.
Absolutely.
And so many great classic lines. We've adapted many of them in our household. We're particularly fond of light the lamp, not the rat.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And born for that role.
I gotta watch it every year.
Yeah, and the Scrooge and Marley song. That's just
Waldorf.
Yeah, you're gonna love the one we did about the Christmas Carol and all of its various iterations therein.
Yes.
There are so many, so many.
Yes.
I mean, for mine, from a TV standpoint, it's probably going to be, of course, The Grinch.
Yes.
I mean, my heart still, they still keep trying to pry my heart to grow at least a half a size, but it hasn't happened quite yet. And all the old Bass and Rankins, those are just so much fun going back.
Heat Miser and Cold Miser and what is it? Jack Frost.
And the New Year's Baby one and all that kind of good stuff. They all make great drinking games. Break out your eggnog.
Yes.
So looking at like TV tropes, since we're all writers and creators here, what's the big trope for you that really defines the holidays?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
So Samantha, you're up first.
Well, I've always liked the gifts of the Magi, O. Henry. And that's one that gets used in so many things. That whole, like, I bought you something that negates what you bought me, but we both bought it for each other because we love the heck out of each other. That gets all my snappy insides, and I love it every time.
So what's your favorite example?
Besides the O. Henry itself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't study for this test. I didn't make a list.
Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Oh. Yeah, this is a pop
sells the wash tub. He sells the tool bench because they want to buy each other something.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I love not so much the selling of things and doing that, but the O. Henry reference. But that's why I love It's a Wonderful Life so much, because it's the realization that you care and what you care about is really important. And those things that are really important are going to always be really important. And I think that's one of the reasons that's sort of the kickoff to my holiday season. Of course, I also like White Christmas, because the songs are great and the sets are great.
And then you have that big set piece at the end, and the whole place opens up and everyone's in red satin and white fluff and
yes. And I'll Follow the Old Man is one of my favorite songs of all time. That little number
that's a great one.
That's always one of those ones that says Christmas to me, and we always like to, if it's not on some particular streaming service or on TV or whatever, we'll find it somewhere. I have a DVD of it and we'll play it so that we can make sure that sometime before Christmas Eve we have seen White Christmas.
That's often what I like to rap to. Yeah. Because there's so much music and stuff, and I don't have to watch every second,
Right. You've seen it enough times.
Gets a little tedious sometimes. Yeah. So it's either that or The Stand. Somehow The Stand has become something I watch when I rap. And my daughter and I.
Oh my God. That's so crazy. It's sort of like Halloween Christmas.
Yeah, non-traditional choices here.
Little Jack Skellington action at Christmas.
Well,
You must have.
you could always watch that. I mean, it's a Christmas and a
Mhm.
Halloween movie.
Mhm.
Well, that gives you something to do for the 12 or 14 or 20 hours worth of wrapping apparently you're taking on to, because there's no way my patience level would last that long. It would be, here, just take it.
Well, there's a singing group I happen to like, and they do the Oogie Boogie song, and their bass singer is got this. It's such a deep voice. It's Voice Play it's an a cappella group called Voice Play, and their bass player can literally drop down to some of the lowest notes that like blow the speakers and stuff. And he does the Oogie Boogie song, and it's brilliant. So if you like Nightmare Before Christmas and you like the Oogie Boogie song, go listen to on YouTube to the Voice Play version of it, because it's awesome. For Halloween and Christmas.
Yeah.
Or the entire season. It's, it just starts in July and goes till apparently June. Yeah. But
well, here in Scotland, for those of you who don't know, I'm studying in Scotland. They don't have Thanksgiving. So starting November 1, they begin decorating for Christmas. And my American sensibilities are like, this is too early.
So looking around, I mean, one of the things, because all of us are more than 19, especially 70s, 80s, every TV show that was on had to have at least one holiday special. Now, yes. I always love the Simpsons holiday specials. Both, I am much more of a Treehouse of Terror guy, but, especially in the early days, they had some really great, fun, touching ones. The other one for me that I will never forget is when Married with Children did their It's a Wonderful Life takeoff, and the angel, of course, was Sam Kinison. And I saw clips of that the other day. I had thought about it in years, and Sam Kinison is the angel just screaming at him to, trying to. So looking at some of the classic TV shows, or even the stuff that's a little more modern, what's one that really kind of speaks to you, how they showed their messed up TV families, and what really kind of drew you into that story, and what was that for you? So Carole, I'm gonna throw this one to you.
I know I've seen many, but there's kind of the pre-kid years, and then there's the kid years where you're so busy kind of just doing all the Christmas stuff. So I'm going to go with something a little more recent, and it is the Supernatural Christmas episode, A Very Supernatural Christmas, which I dearly adore for its take on all the Christmas hoofara and traditions and stuff, and infuses it with that good old monster of the week pagan god yummy darkness. Kind of like when you pour the dark rum into the eggnog.
Yeah.
And I just love it. And then in the very end, having vanquished the pagan gods and restored order, the Winchesters have their own little humble Christmas in their crappy hotel room with the air freshener decorated Christmas tree, and because it's Dean's last Christmas at that point, we all thought, on Earth, and he really wanted it, and Sam had said no, and then Sam in the end gives him the Christmas because he loves his brother. And so there you have that whole, I'm going to give you what you want because it's Christmas and I love you. So it really goes through everything.
That's such a great.
You even get to see a piece of fruitcake get squished.
Now, a possessed fruitcake, I can go with that.
That's such a great episode because it's literally all the feels. I mean, it's the family feels and the, oh God, we got to do this again feels, and the, nope, not doing it. And then, oh, yep, okay, we're going to do it.
And just the whole terrific thing of like, in the midst of the happy, fluffy, shiny, bright Christmas, you have the Krampus.
Yes.
chewing and blood everywhere and bits of bone and the little horrified kid in his little Christmas onesie pajamas, frozen. So yeah, it's got it all.
It does. It
Now,
really does.
in that genre, the one I will put out there as well, of course, is the X-Files episode with Ed Asner and with Lily Tomlin as the little ghost couple, which was just one that, was a lot of fun to watch because it was all watching the back and forth between Ed Asner and Lily Tomlin, where it could have been, a lot of anybody else, and watching Fox, watching Mulder and Scully running around and having the whole debate, and they're like, aren't they adorable? Don't they? And
I've forgotten about that one.
That is one of those episodes that if you want something that's a little bit spooky and a little bit, but a little bit tender and fun, that's another fun one to do.
Well, there's two that I come to mind, and both of them are super old, but I know they're both on YouTube because I've looked at them. There's like 3 episodes, different Christmas episodes from MASH that will make you just cry in your eggnog. And then I don't know if any of you have ever seen the very funny British comedy Blackadder. There is a Christmas special during, I believe it's World War I, where the guys climb out of the trenches and the Germans come out of the trenches. And on Christmas Eve, they drink together and sing Christmas carols. And it actually happened. And so they used it in the thing. And it is literally probably one of the only episodes of Blackadder that is in any way remotely serious. And it'll absolutely bring you to your knees.
What about you, Samantha?
I'm having trouble thinking of any. I'm like, did I watch TV? Because you guys mentioned these, and I'm like, I watched all the like children's programming. Like I can remember watching The Grinch, and I can remember watching Charlie Brown and such. But my family's not real strong on Christmas. My family is partly Jewish, partly Christian, and religiously, I would say that we are vague. We believe that. I always say I belong to the church of be nice to people and recycle. Yes. So
many of us have joined that church.
Yeah, right up my alley.
So I can kind of vaguely remember like a Brady Bunch episode where Cindy was really cute, but then would I still think that? I don't know. I guess I haven't gone back and watched any of the kind of television that I watched when I was a kid since. And so it's all like real fuzzy back here.
There's a couple Scooby-Doo episodes, but I can't remember with the kids, because my boys loved Scooby-Doo, that were holiday-esque. And then I seem to remember a South Park Christmas episode, but I can't call the details on that one either.
Isn't Mr. Hanky the Christmas poo?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, poor Kyle, the one Jewish kid in his school.
South Park did
much South Park, but Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo.
They've got
and the funny thing too is in the last 5 years, 6 years, we've had the Hallmark Channel and the competition on the USA Network just start flooding us with Christmas stories starting, November. Now, October, November. And some of them are really good. And some of them are like, Billy, they paid you for this.
Yeah.
Aren't there some actors who basically half their career is now doing Hallmark movies and stuff?
Oh,
I didn't realize, for instance, David Hayden Jones, who I know from Supernatural, as the bloodthirsty English assassin, is apparently this big romantic,
very, very highly thought of on Hallmark Channel. Yeah, so sweet. It's all so sweet. And as somebody who writes romance, I'm like, really? Is this 2021? Really? They only get to kiss? Really? That's it? End of discussion. And they've decided, ooh, you're the one for me, and all I've done is kiss. Really? So I have somewhat of a jaundiced and jaded view of Hallmark, but there are 2 or 3 actresses that appear over and over. And you're like, so were you actually paired with him, or now you paired with him? Are you the same person? Because you sure look the same.
It gets
It's
a little incestuous in there.
It does.
Little holiday incest.
it's a
It
holiday
does.
Christmas sponsored by Tab.
It is. What's really funny though is my stepsister is a Tony Award-winning Broadway actress. Her name is Victoria Clark, and I guess it was last year. She debuted on Hallmark Channel as the Queen. So it's one of those stories, the Lost Hidden Prince kind of thing, where they're in America for something. They take rooms and because they're snowed in, and nobody's supposed to know they're prince. They're royal. And so it was great fun to switch on, Hallmark and go, oh my gosh, it's Vicky. So catch that one now. I'm sure they'll rerun that one this year. Victoria Clark, catch her. I'll have to look her up and see what the story was now. So now that I've mentioned it. So.
Now you have to remember the episode. It will re-air on,
yeah, exactly.
November 3rd, December 17.
Exactly.
So
it's the fun part of all those. She's done so much other fabulous work, and she said this was just super fun to do. That it was really just a fun adventure to do. So they must treat everybody very well on their sets.
Lots of snacks.
Yeah.
Craft service does well. Lots of hot chocolate. Yes. Rum-filled hot chocolate.
It's called One Royal Holiday. On the Hallmark Channel near you.
So since we're on that, what is the TV trope that you see during the holidays every time you look at it and you cringe?
I can go.
All right.
The city girl comes home to her small town and finds the love of her life and gives up her career and her life in the big city. It just makes me insane. There's a reason you left that small town. There's a reason your career won't thrive in that small town. Could you just go home? Take him with you if you have to, but just don't pretend you're going to be happy in a small town that you left 20 years ago.
Well, and the best one that did that was Grosse Pointe Blank, but he had to shoot up half the town and make
Alas, not a Christmas movie, but awesome.
So what about you, Samantha? What's that TV trope that you look at and every time you see it coming, you just cringe?
They're centered around children. The ones where it's like orphan kid finally gets a home, or single mom and son find the perfect guy somehow, and now they're all going to be a perfect family from here on out. I guess my cynicism is just a little too high for those. Kind of like you with the woman who came back and gave up her career. I'm like, oh yeah, I give them 6 months. Yeah. I guess I'm just not sappy enough. I don't buy those.
Carole?
I don't like when you have the family you're invested in, the main family of the movie or the TV show or whatever. And then you have the visiting family who is terribly either rude or obnoxious or selfish or whatever, and you're kowtowing to them and you're doing everything because, oh my gosh, you have to make them happy and yada, yada, yada. But in the end, everybody's happily reconciled and they share, they're all like singing around the tree or, throwing snowballs or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, that's really not how that whole family tension thing goes.
Yeah, it seldom resolves so neatly.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just a little too experienced to buy these particular.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm going to go with Samantha. Cynical. I'm a little more cynical.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go with the evil questions because, I am here as the Krampus.
It's you.
It's me. It's the Krampus. It's the Grinch, and I'm here to. What is that incident from your own family experience that could have been the bad TV episode You can leave out the names to protect the guilty if you so wish.
But they're all guilty. I don't know. For me, it was probably a couple of years ago when I was having about 17 people come for Christmas Day dinner. And I opened up the package of the 25-pound turkey, and it was bad.
Oh,
So I went to cook the turkey that morning and had, opened the package, and it was like, oh, that's awful. And I go to the grocery store like 10 minutes before it closes, and said, awful. And I ended up with two 13-pound turkeys frozen. So I ended up cooking two standing rib roasts for Christmas dinner. Everything else was the same, but no turkey.
Add cranberry, it'll go fine.
It'll be fine. As long as there was alcohol and casseroles, we were good.
That could be the name of your Hallmark special,
Alcohol and casseroles. No, they won't be.
Booze and bakes. You call it booze and bakes.
There we go.
On the Food Channel, on the Food Network, coming soon.
It's got a nice alliterative kind of thing going there.
And they match the wines too, so like you can have a Riesling with the tuna casserole, and they share them.
Takes best with bitterness and disappointment.
Exactly. That goes with a nice Riesling. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Then what goes with the Boone's Farm? So, what about you, Samantha?
The third cousins.
The third cousin.
Well, it's kind of a small point to make a television program out of it, but one of my favorite memories is one of my grandmother's last Christmases. She was pulling no punches anymore. She was just telling it like it was.
The filter was off.
I had a cousin with a fella in her life that my grandmother didn't like, and they were talking about getting married. And so when my cousin opened their Christmas present, they had received a jumbo box of condoms, basically saying, please don't procreate.
Oh my
God. With that one.
That's priceless.
Yeah. Grandma Liz. Yeah.
Go grandma.
Wow.
Go grandma. So Carole, what about you?
I mean, I've been really fortunate. I think I've never had to deal with a really big family, either myself or my husband's, either the first one or the second one. Probably the hardest thing for me would just be that my first husband's family was very religious, and I, like Samantha, are from the church of be nice and recycle. And I totally respected everything that they did and believed in everything. But it was just really difficult sometimes, wading through things and receiving gifts that were like, angel candelabras and things where I'm just like,
How do I give that at the next white elephant giveaway?
And I totally appreciated the intent with which it was given. But then the day-to-day part of me is like, but most of the time I've been able to do, plan our Christmases for a smaller family group. And, I have a blended family, and my ex-husband comes every Christmas with us as well. And, we drink a lot of coffee, and then we drink a lot of booze and open presents and pig out.
Sounds like an ideal American Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you could wish.
So, and probably one of the better ones of recent years is actually going to wind up being a Thanksgiving story, but because, why not? And because I wind up having to do a bunch of cooking every year, and my in-laws and all were supposed to be coming down to the house. I was also cooking for some other people as well. So I think this might have been the year I wound up smoking 12 turkeys, frying 12 turkeys, smoking like a dozen hams, a bunch of other stuff. And all of that, and a smoked turkey, a fried turkey, and a ham was for us, and the rest of it was going to other people. And my wife's great aunt, who her grandmother lived with, passed away that week. And so her mother calls and says, hey, yeah, I guess we're going to stay down here. And she's like, okay. And I'm sitting there going, I've been cooking for 2 days. I've got all this stuff. I've got the pies. I've got everything cooked and done. And I looked at her and I said, well, why don't we carry it all down there? And she was like, why would we do that? It's like, well,
so
because
we don't have to eat turkey from now to kingdom come.
Right.
I'm like, the answer I used was because it's the right thing to do. But yeah, we could go with that one too. And I'm like, because I've been cooking for 3 days. So we go, we take care of it. She calls her cousins. They turn it into a whole big family gathering thing. I'm carrying all this stuff in and everything else. And her grandmother's standing there amazed. And she looks at my wife and says to her, so what, he does all the cooking? Yeah. And she goes, yeah. She looks at her and says, so what is it that you do? I'm just going to leave it right there.
Oh my.
Because,
there have been some fun movies where that kind of family dinner disaster has been part of the holiday, or, the dog goes in and jumps on the table and eats everything.
Oh yeah, like in A Christmas Story, and
yeah,
is that the Griswold where they finally cut the turkey and it just kind of disintegrates? Yeah. Is that the right one? It's like, oh,
that's one to ask Jeanne Marie about, because that was inspired by her life, but that's a whole different story.
Her story about that's really horrible. It's truly, there's a holiday disaster panel, and she's got that story out there, so you'll have to watch that episode. But yeah, I mean, some of the fun things that they go with on some of the holiday TV shows, they don't tend to get into the real, wow, we've got major arguments at the dinner table and everybody walked out. Fortunately, I've never had that, but you sometimes do have those, okay, everybody's going to tread very carefully here and be very nice, and so it's always funny to see some of the shows where they're doing that, where they're like trying to tread carefully, not succeeding. And you can relate to that so much, because I wouldn't do that either.
Yeah, grandma has lost her filter, if she ever had one. I'm going to be the crazy uncle that never had a filter. It'll be fine.
To begin with. We had one where one of the aunties asked my brother and sister-in-law, who never married, I just called them my sister-in-law, she confronted them, glass of beverage in hand. So, are you two afraid of the altar? No, she's not going to get married. Well, I don't understand why. Just try to redirect. She'd come back a little while later and go, I really want to understand this. Why aren't you going to get married?
Yeah, the answers that would come to mind would probably have gotten me in trouble. So
I think that's why no one wanted to respond to that.
So looping back into some of our more favorite TV type of stuff, because again, we're back to all writers. What's the story that you want to write and craft? Because Jeannie, I know you've written a few holiday themed stories. Yeah. And Samantha, I believe you have as well.
Yeah, I have one in the menopausal superhero series. I've got Patricia. It's called Oh Scaly Night. And for people who haven't read my series, Patricia transforms into what is called the Lizard Woman of Springfield. Basically, she puts on a lot of bulk and armor and spikes, and it's a transformation kind of character. And it's not quite David Banner. It's not You Wouldn't Like Me When I'm Angry, but she can control when it comes on and off, but she's not above using it for intimidation. And I've given Patricia kind of a rough family history with multiple stepfathers and not all happy in love situations. So she's got special sensitivity about child abuse. And in that story, it's basically like a little vengeance story. She helps a single dad kick the new stepdad to the curb.
Yay.
What about you, Carole, in all of your creative endeavors?
I haven't really written. I'm sad. I'm not sad to say, but my foray into Christmas story writing so far has really only been a couple instances of really seasonally lovely and appropriate porn. So we have Santa is the exotic dancer who comes out in the full Santa suit, and by the end of his number is wearing a candy cane G-string. So,
Jingle all the way.
yeah. So I really haven't done the full scale, either a moral story or a feel story, but it's in there and it will come out just kind of not yet. But
I guess mine is
it was very popular.
I've got one that's Christmas in Space. That's Christmas on Outcast Station. And then I have Christmas at Caneham Castle, which is in an anthology with several of my friends, including Nancy Northcott, which is set in a castle on the Welsh Marches. And we've got New Year's, Ringing the New at Caneham Castle coming out this year, later in November. And then I've got a standalone called Behind Enemy Lines, which is a World War II Christmas story. So that was a fun one to do. It's kind of along the lines of the one from Blackadder. It's a little bit like that. Jim, I know you've got the Krampus clause. So what
I've got they're over here this way.
Yeah.
The Krampus started out as I just wanted to do a Krampus story starting about 10, 12 years ago, and I kept playing with it and it wasn't working and it wasn't working. And I sat down and started playing with it a couple of years ago, and it came out last year. And it's a fun YA Christmas horror because it is written in that traditional, Christmas horror where not everything goes right around that age, where everything is going into the winter and cold and death and all of this sort of fun stuff. And being a fan of all the traditional sort of, Marley and Cratchit play and everything else. And when I first started playing with him, Krampus was not a real well-known figure. I mean, he's become a bit more popular over the last few years, but it's a nice little YA where I have, and it's set in Atlanta, where I have a nice little, 10-year-old protagonist who, by the time it's all said and done, she gets to deal with Santa and deliver his due. So it's a fun one, and hypothetically, there's 2 more to come out that tie all the whole story together. But it was really written to be a standalone, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, that's an idea. So that's Krampus. It's fun and creepy, and it sort of hits on a lot of the holiday tropes and turns them sideways to pick on them a bit. So with all your writing, with your stories,
I went and fetched mine just to show the.
Very nice.
Yeah, so the O Scaly Night is published in a couple different places, but one of the easiest places to get it is this one, Christmas Lights.
9.
I had to look at it to see what number it was. Christmas Lights 9. This is a long-standing charity anthology series, and I contributed to this edition. And they're all Christmas and holiday themed stories over quite a range of genres, but it's that's one of the places that you can get O Scaly Night if you wanted to read it. And you
those are always so fun to pick up too, because they're big enough to be a story, but short enough to not take too long. And they're great, just wonderful little bites of all sorts of different things. It's like getting one of those boxes of chocolates, where you're just really not quite sure what you're going to
get. Yeah. Reading an anthology is a series of risk. But they're all risk. If you hate that story, skip it. Go on to the next. Yeah,
lots of reward too.
Yeah.
So with all your stories, what's the one that you would like to see turned into a TV show for the holidays? Or what's a story you may not even written or published, but you want to see your people, your characters, and have it show up on TV? So Carole, you're nodding vigorously, so you get to start.
Well, I actually remembered that I did write something in addition to the stripper candy cane story where it was a fan fiction of another show where, but AU, where we had like a shelter and a rich man who comes to the shelter and he's doing photo ops and he's doing all this splashy stuff, but he's not doing what they really need. And eventually, this could be a Hallmark movie. He falls in love with somebody working at the shelter and comes to realize what the things they do need. And when he does those, he helps supply those things and he ends up giving them a big Christmas. And here's the big tree and here's a lovely, here's a big turkey dinner and everybody has gifts, but they're things like, nice woolen mittens and hats and scarves so that they're not cold and things like that. And it had a good deal of both banter and yet the feels. But I felt his walking down that path of realizing what it really meant to not just throw your money around, but to actually help people and give to people, would certainly be a nice show.
You could probably sell that to Hallmark. That would be great.
Yes, Hallmark will be reaching out in about an hour after this airs. Because they need it in production by late November to be ready in December. So
can I have them use David Hayden Jones?
Probably.
Sure.
He's under contract for 5 more, so why not?
And that's 5 more between now and the end of the year. So Jeannie, what about you?
Well, in my Haven Harbor Witches series, I did A Yule to Remember. This is one of the novellas in the series, and it's under the mistletoe kind of story, and sort of like where we're really trying not to get caught under the mistletoe, but there are a bunch of witches in town, so they all know we don't want to get caught under the mistletoe, so they're doing their best to make sure we do. And so it's kind of a fun little rollicking romp about, all of the witches meddling and interfering and trying to get these two people together. And there's magical mistletoe floating around places. So it would make a fun little romp for Christmas on TV. So yes, anyone wants to reach out about writing the script for that, or I'll write the script. If you want to produce it, I'm all good.
That was about a joke. All right, Samantha, what about you?
Can't think of anything else I've written that's very holiday. I've played around with trying to write menopausal superhero Christmas stories for like my newsletter and that kind of stuff, but they're a cynical bunch of women. Might have something to do with who wrote them.
I don't know. I think "Oh Scaly Night" would be a pretty damn good Christmas special.
Yeah, I mean, it would. I would love to see it produced, but.
All of the Supernatural and Lucifer and Buffy fans would be like, yes, a Christmas special for us, finally.
And it's musical.
Yeah, I don't think you'll get a Hallmark special out of anything that I've written.
No, but you might get a Buffy.
Yeah,
Lucifer.
One of those. Therefore, I must kill you.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, since we were here to talk about holiday TV shows, what's the one story that you want to make sure everybody watches this season and gets either all the feels or all the felt up? I don't know, because since we've been talking about jingle bells and candy canes and stripper stripers and all the rest of the good stuff with romance. So Samantha, I'm going to start with you on this one. What's the one story you think everybody needs to watch this year so they get all their feels?
I'm going to go with A Charlie Brown Christmas again. I think every year we need a reminder that the holiday season, the winter holiday season, is not supposed to be all about how much you spent, but about the people you spend it with.
What about you, Carole?
I love Will Vinton's Claymation Christmas. It's out there but it's not one of the big ones like, like Rudolph or something, but it is both funny and beautiful. We have 2 claymation dinosaurs and the little Santa hats and everything talking about various Christmas carols. And so each Christmas carol they talk about has its own little, we have like funny ones and we have really lovely ones, and they're all claymation, and some of them are little figures, but some of them are just astoundingly beautiful, like shapes melting into each other and everything. So for me, it has the whole range of like, here's the funny stuff, here's the lovely seasonal stuff, and in between we have geese walking through the little town that these dinosaurs are in, singing "Here We Come a Waffling," or "Here We Come a Waddling," and various permutations on. At the end, they finally get it. "Here we come a waffling," and it's really a delightful show. Will Vinton's Claymation Christmas. Check it out.
Jeannie?
Well, I don't think anybody can argue that any version of the Christmas Carol will bring the feels, because you're going to have the Scrooge and the ghost story and the whole thing. It's all cool, but I would have to put my vote in for Scrooged, because there is no version of it that has made me laugh harder or cry or actually be super freaked out by the ghost of Christmas future or Christmas yet to come, and nobody who can deliver a line like, "We'll just staple them on." Like,
that's exactly the line I was thinking of. I'm not kidding. You're talking about it, and I'm picturing Bill Murray going, "Staple the antlers."
The little mouse. Nobody could have delivered that line with a straight face. And having Carol Kane smack him upside the head with the toast. I'm like, but then there are points of it where, and again, it's Bill Murray. He can deliver this pathos where you're like, you really believe he's changed, and it's pretty cool. And it's one of the ones that I always try to catch, and it's got all the feels.
Well, seeing as how I'm the resident Grinch, I'm going to have to go stick with at least watch the first half and then cut it off. Just stop before.
Of the Grinch?
Of the Grinch, that's right. Stop right at the point. Right? And just as the sleigh's at the top and he's listening to the hill, that's when you stop. Just stop right there. Picture it going over the edge. It's all perfectly fine.
And the Grinch happily going back to his cave.
And the Grinch happily goes back to his cave. And I say this from the top of my mountain. So thank you very, very much. But before we get out of here, I want you to tell everyone where we can find you, website, social media, where they can come, stalk you, hang out with you. And when you do this, you have to tell us your favorite holiday song. So Jeannie, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, you can find me at JeanneAdams.com. You can find me here on ConTinual an awful lot. You can find me on the Hive of Scum and Villainy, that is Twitter. As social media, that's one of the places I hang out the most. But right now, of course, I'm also posting a lot of pictures from Edinburgh on Facebook and Instagram. And I'm at Jeanne Adams on both of those places, or Jeanne Adams Author on Facebook. And favorite song, "O Holy Night."
Good one.
What about you, Samantha?
So I'm Samantha Bryant, and you can find me at samanthabryant.com. I also hang out on Instagram and on Twitter is at Samantha B Writer. That's just the letter B in the middle for Bryant. And also because it's funny, Samantha B Writer. Bad grammar. And as the one Jewish kid at my school, I always got to sing Winter Wonderland because there's no Christianity mentioned in it. So I'll go with that one.
I love that one.
What about you, Carole?
I'm here as Carole Stokes on Facebook. I'm in ConTinual a lot. I'm on Twitter as true_firesign10. I'm on WordPress as firesign10, and all my fiction is on AO3 under firesign10.
And I've been having the fun this evening of being the troublemaker and your host. You can find me at jamespnettles.com, authoressentials.net. Of course, here at ConTinual. I do show up on Facebook, occasionally that Hive of Scum and Villainy that is Twitter. Instagram, YouTube, and usually wherever I can go show and run my mouth a little bit. And in terms of favorite holiday songs, ooh, that's a really good question. Yeah, you forgot yours, Carole. Go ahead.
Carol of the Bells.
I love that one.
Of course,
Well
for
done.
Carol.
I know, but it's really, I love
No,
it.
that one is.
You gotta hear the Pentatonics version of it. It's awesome.
Oh yes, that's stunning. It's stunning.
And I'll
All
have
right,
to go.
Jim, what's yours?
I'm gonna have to go with "It's a Blue Christmas," but it's either the Elvis version or the Porky Pig. Pick one or the other. So, and with that, happy
Porky Pig
holidays,
does
everybody.
Elvis.
Oh yeah, Porky Pig does Elvis. Yeah, we're just gonna stop there.
Such a visual. Such a visual.
Let's just put Porky in the jumpsuit. It'll all be fine. Happy holidays to everybody from ConTinual. And if you've enjoyed this one, of course, tell everybody else where to come and find us and share in the laughs and a little bit of fun. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.